Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson. Blending survival, fiction, and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Hello, and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 350. Hey, Chen, what's up?
Hey, chin's up.
All right, and we got our special guest today. Survivor Jane is in the house. Hi, Jane. How you doing?
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Oh, man, it's so good. So good to hear your voice. I was just like, oh, what a great idea, Chen, because me and Jane could talk like the whole show, and it'll just
And
work
I
out
just have
wonderful.
to sit back.
Yeah, and then some.
Right? So how's everything been going? Are you busy?
You know what? I mean, super busy. I have really been pumping things up. I mean, just like I just got that spidey sense that I need to kick it up a notch.
Yeah, I hear you. I wonder what would give you that idea. I just can't figure
know.
that out. I'm so curious. So, well, we've actually been reading Little House in the Big Woods. I got Chen on board and got the community involved to read Little House in the Big Woods, which is, you know what Little House in the Big Woods, right? Like the Laura Ingalls Wilder series.
Oh, yes.
Right? So this is her first book from when she was super little. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to read a book about a little girl and all this. But there is so much survival information packed inside of this book that I'm like, you've got to read it. If you've never read it, you really need to read it. Really good stuff as far as like,
wow.
Yeah, making smokers and just how did they used to do everything. So it's been a fun project to explore. So in the book, they're on harvest time right now. And I was like, well, if there's somebody that knows about harvest time, it's Survivor Jane. So Jane,
oh, do I know?
For everybody, you've been on the show a bunch, everything, but go ahead and let's do an intro. Let's get everybody coming out to prepper camp. I got some of my besties coming this year, so it's going to be a ball. Ellen from Australia is going to be in town. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Awesome.
Yeah. So go ahead and let's do the spiel on who is Survivor Jane and why is she so epically awesome.
You know what? I can tell you the first part, the latter part. I don't know. You know what, Sarah? I'm a former city girl, and when I say city girl, I mean I was about as city as you could get. The head was as far into the sand as I could get it. My priorities were shopping, makeup shopping, clothes, handbags, anything and everything girly, anything that shined, I was following it. And then some not good things happened in my life in the city. And, I was right smack in the bubble crash or the housing bubble bursting. I was right in the middle of the stock market crashing. And to just put that little cherry on top of all this mess, I was involved in attempted carjacking. That's kind of like the last straw for me. It took my total happy place and just, it opened my eyes to how much ugliness, how much just everything was involved. I mean, I literally didn't read newspapers. I didn't listen to the news. I was just in la la land. And I came home, my husband and I talked about it. It's like, I'm losing all my money. Our house is worth nothing. I don't feel safe anymore. And we did something that some people would say was pretty stupid. And some people are like, wow, you guys are amazing.
So jealous. I'm so jealous.
We took the money that we had, which was absolutely just minimal, and we ran for the hills. And when I say hills, I mean not high heels either. I mean, I am talking, we are up here. Now I'm with over 100 animals. So, I'm literally up here in the hills now. So in the last 10 years, maybe 12 years, I don't know who's counting, I have learned how to be self-sufficient, but I have learned trial by fire. So when people go, oh my gosh, expert survivor Jane, absolutely, absolutely. If you can't be an expert making mistakes, I am all about it. So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
The saying, the master has made more mistakes than the novice has even tried, right?
Absolutely. That is me.
Yep. That is all of us. I think that is just life. So no, I am. I'm kind of jealous. Although we did like an opposite move. We went a little bit, tiny bit more urban on this house, just because we wanted our son to be able to have some friends. We were out in the country for so long, but we'll be back there as soon as he's done with high school. So I'm with you.
Yep.
And one of your guys' game plans for money saving, it wasn't about the heating. It wasn't about power, because everybody's like, oh, I got to get solar. I got to get wind. That's how I'm going to negate my bills. Great. But your guys' focus was sheerly on food production, which I love as well.
Well, you know what? If you remember back in the No, you didn't. We all read about back in the days, where the first thing that somebody did, the people as they were crossing towards the west, they would actually make a barn first, or a storage root cellar first, before they built the house, and they started their food. These days people go, I'm not worried about anything. I have a seed bank. Apparently anybody that's had a seed bank has never planted a seed. Because you gotta use it, you gotta plant, you gotta start it, because it takes a long time.
Right.
It takes a good year for things to start getting established. So that's
even if you plant it, doesn't mean it's going to grow.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I was going to say that same thing. Yeah, and like the
Mm-hmm.
regional change for us, we grew great, big, huge, beautiful gardens for years, and then we changed climates. And oh man, it just kicked us back on our heels. We had to learn, just different times of the seasons when we were planting and things like that. And we're still really adjusting to that curve. So even somebody experienced,
and that's true.
Right?
I mean, it's not a one size fit all. I mean, I am fortunate enough that I was married to somebody that actually had smarts, and actually understood things and observed the land and watched the weather and watched and created this concept that's called a food forest. And it literally is a food forest that you don't have to go and do anything but let nature take its course. Now, when he was explaining that to me, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the guy has gone off the deep end. Me, I know rows. I mean, we all know rows. And everybody knows you plant a row of lettuce and a row of tomatoes and a row of potatoes and a row and row and row. And he's explaining this concept, and I'm thinking, we're going to die. I can no longer go shopping. I'm no longer around people. I'm stuck up here with this old goat, and he's telling me about this forest. Number one, I don't want to go out in the woods. I don't want to get ticks. I don't want to get. So why are you going to build a garden like that? So it took me a while to sit back and understand what it was and watch. Because at first, all that happened to me was that he came in and took all these pines down, and it looked like an explosion had gone off. And he's starting to build berms. It's like, I don't even know what a berm was at the time. And for those that don't know, it's just a bump. Okay?
It's just a bump.
It's a hump, okay? And he's building all of these things and the concept, and I highly suggest anybody that doesn't understand what the heck I'm talking about, just look up Rick's YouTube channel or his Facebook or whatever, Secret Garden of Survival.
His book shows the progression of it. It's pretty awesome to see the pictures in the book.
He was smart enough to do it one step at a time, because he thought, you know what? It's hard to explain, but you sure can take pictures and explain it, and people can actually see how it's done. So,
and that video you guys just put out was really, really good as well.
Oh, yeah. I have to say the production crew did an excellent job of exactly how we live.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's
Thank you.
Again, I was like, wow. All right, man. I still got worked out. I grow so much and do so much. It's like, we still got a long way to go. So,
but you got to start.
So today I'm just excited because I get to just pick your brain, which is epically awesome.
Small.
Yeah.
Small. So it won't take long.
It won't take long. No, I'm definitely coming to your class to heckle you at prepper camp.
That's okay. That's all good.
So I'm curious, because I do know, I've been exploring the concepts of the garden and what you guys are up to. What about grains? Like, do you have any plans for what would you do for a bread type substitute if we were collapsing kind of deal? What have you guys thought through on that kind of process?
Well, honestly, we do grow wheat.
Okay.
Because we have, that's what we feed the animals. Thank goodness that Rick and I both have got off of that wheel of the pasta and the flour and the rice and the whatever. So we honestly don't have it in our diet right now.
Okay.
I do have red berries. I do have that I have stocked and stored. I do have white berries, so that I can make. I can ground it and make it into flour. I do have stored flour. I do have stored rice.
Can you make like a donut out of that?
Absolutely.
All I've heard about is your awesome donuts. So one of these days, yeah.
Absolutely. I have learned to do anything that we used to eat in the big city. I have learned how to do it. Now, at first, it probably didn't look the same, but honestly, if you can read, I've learned if you can follow instructions and do what the book says, you can cook or you can bake. Most people, they don't have the patience, and so therefore they just want to say, oh, it doesn't matter if I don't put this in, or it doesn't matter if I add this in. It does matter. And so to me, if you buy a cookbook, follow it and learn how to get a feel for how things are done. But getting back into the rice and grain and wheat and what have you, unfortunately, that's what society is all about. If you look at all recipes that are made or all
right.
I was talking to a friend the other night and was telling I was able to go ahead, I saved my pennies up, and I got a freeze dryer. Now, that to me is a huge, huge, huge expense, and it's a luxury, but it's also a tool for me right now. But most of the recipes that you look at all have to do with pasta dishes, rice dishes, noodle dishes, all kinds of.
How do you freeze dry mac and cheese?
You know what? You do like I do. You buy it in a box. It's already freeze dried.
Yeah, right.
You're good. You're good like that.
Insulate your walls with
it. My problem is when harvest time comes, I have got so much that like strawberries are coming in, and they're coming in and coming in and coming in. So I can go ahead and start freeze drying those, and I don't have to worry about filling up my freezer full of strawberries because next blueberries are coming down the pipe. After the blueberries come, then the raspberries come. And it's like, honestly, this is the time that I start whining. And I'm in therapy for it, but I just like, oh my gosh.
It's too much.
Because the old goat, what he does is he deals with the animals. Me, I deal with the food. Now, he'll go out and pick. That's the easy part.
Right? That's the fun part. Yeah, that's the fun part.
Pick. Then all of a sudden he goes, here. And it's like, here. So now I've got strawberries coming in. I got blueberries. So all of a sudden I have to start canning them. I have to start freezing them. I have to start dehydrating them. I have to start thinking, okay, what is it that I can turn into whatever? We had a bumper crop of pears.
Ooh,
and I mean
yum.
Pears and pears, not just one kind of pear. No, that would be too easy. No, we got Asian pears and kefir pears and, it's like, oh my gosh. So I learned how to make the best pear sauce. Big, nice, and it is as some people would say, to die for. I'm not going to die for any food.
No. That's a rough sale for me. I had a bad experience with pear sauce. Yeah. Ugh.
But to tell you. So, I am learning how, as I'm being pushed closer and closer to the fire, I am learning how to turn this food into different things that we would enjoy eating. But unfortunately, people have got to right now, Sarah, they've got to start getting fire under their feet.
Yeah.
They really have got to start picking it up, because as you see, as the diesel prices are going, so too are the delivery trucks, and so too are the grocery store shelves, and so too are everything else. I just cannot stress how much you need to start a garden.
Yeah,
you
the
need to
trickle
start
down,
putting more food away.
Yeah,
you
the trickle down is going to be, it's just going to be massive once this diesel thing gets worse and worse and worse. Yeah, I agree.
And you know, people are going, but wait a minute, all I have is a patio. Well, you know what? Buy you some little grow bags. You know, buy you some little pots. You know,
that's all I had. I had a patio at a townhouse, and we practiced there before we had property, and we just grew tomatoes and herbs and lettuce and stuff in
and beyond that,
a watering trough.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Beyond that, you know, support your local people who have the property to do it, so they can ramp up and make more money off of it and make an actual living off of it.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, any piece of fruit you get that you know how it was grown, or any piece of vegetable that you get that you know how it was grown, it's not full of GMOs and all kinds of nasty things. For goodness sake, save the seeds.
Oh, it tastes so much better.
I cannot even stress, if you just save those seeds, dry them, and you have started your own little seed bank already.
Not only that, but regionally too, like if those are the ones that grew in your region, those seeds are the ones that are genetically going to be better suited for your region.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. You know, when you buy seeds at a store, a big box store, you don't know where those things came from. You have no idea. You don't know if they're going to be receptive to your soil and your climate, your zone. You just don't have any idea. So to think that you just went to the store and bought a bunch of packets of seeds, like Chin said, there's no guarantee.
Right.
There's no guarantee, and you don't know how long those things have been sitting on the shelf.
Well, that's what even so Patriot Supply had like these long-term seed storage containers. So I bought like 3, because one of them I was going to open up and start planting now to make sure they worked. What's up with these plants? What is this all about? Instead of just, I'm just going to put these on the counter and be done with it. You know, I got my seed stores.
No, you got to start. You have to start, because it's trial and error. Honestly, it is. You do not have to be a master gardener. You do not have to be anything but observant. You just have to watch to see, you know what? These are turning a little yellow. They might need a little bit more of this, or, these are too this or too that. They need more sun. They need, it's just observing whatever it is that you're trying to grow and get a feel for what each plant needs.
You even inspired me from your video to be more trimmy about things. So now I always have my trimmers with me when I'm out at the garden, and I'm taking all the little dead leaves off and trimming this up.
You know what?
That,
because of the fact people don't understand that, but the tree's growing, and as it's growing, if a piece is part of it starts to turn brown, energy is still going through to that area. And there's no reason. It's like a dead end. It keeps on coming back. But if you cut that off, the energy will continue up and out into other branches and leaves. And so I am always giving haircuts. I mean, always. I have a haircut bucket out there in the greenhouse that I just trim up.
All right, so let's do a lightning round. So I want to know your favorite methods of preserving, and we're just going to lightning round it. So we can go back, of course, but I thought it'd be fun to do. All right, are you ready?
Favorite? Oh my gosh, there's no such thing as favorite with
I know,
me.
but like if you had like one or none, that's it, right? Okay. So
all right, I'll try.
Favorite method of preserving nuts?
Nuts go rancid, so that's a tough one. You really can't preserve nuts too long. It's short term, so that's a horrible answer. But they go rancid, just like peanut butter, just like anything like that. So I don't know. I don't know. For hazel. I mean, hazelnuts we had last year. We had an abundance of those, but unfortunately, I ate them. So that was my preserve.
There you go. You preserved them.
Yeah, I did.
In your belly.
All right. Your favorite method of preserving fruit?
Oh, there's too much.
And
there's
you have
too
your
many
new
different
freeze
ways.
dryer too.
Yes, yeah. So it's honestly, it used to be dehydrating. It used to be jellies and jams, but I'm trying to get away from the sugar. So I was really pushing the dehydrating, but now I've got the freeze drying, which is like another form of dehydration, but just a little bit long term. So yeah, right now my favorite toy is going to be the freeze dryer.
Oh, I want to come back to that one because I want to talk about the jams for a minute. Okay.
Yep.
Favorite method of preserving vegetables?
Usually it's dehydrating, making powders. Or right now, it was dehydrating, and now it's going to be freeze drying.
I know. I'm even more jealous. What about eggs?
No.
It was dehydrating. I was dehydrating eggs, but right now, as we speak, I've probably done 20 dozen of duck and chicken eggs because they're coming in right now, and come wintertime, I'm not going to have any.
You used to preserve your eggs by feeding them to the dogs. That was your dog food. Yeah.
It still is. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I had so much so many duck eggs, and I can't eat them because I have like some type of allergic reaction to them. So I was giving them to any animal that would eat them. I was hard boiling them and throwing them out to, anybody that would eat them. It was like, get rid of these
up.
things. Yes. So then it's like, but wait a minute. You know what? If times are hard, and if you're watching the price of eggs right now, I'm looking at that because of the way things are. I'm looking at things a whole lot different. Not like, hey, there's going to be more coming down the pike. There might not be. So I'm trying to put away as much as I can.
What about meat? Other than freeze drying. Yeah.
That's right now. Freezing is where I'm at right now. Freezer.
What about with no freezer?
You know what? It's going to have to be my freeze dryer now.
You've done jerky, right?
Yeah, but that's not long term. I mean, that, you put that in front of the old goat and it's gone in a day.
Yeah. My boys would destroy that.
Yeah. So that's not, but yet, can I do that? Absolutely. But again, I'm trying to think when you're asking me, I'm trying to think long term.
Yep.
How long would the jerky if we vacuum sealed it?
And you
again,
didn't eat it?
It's the same thing as meat. It's got fat in it, and fat it's not long term. You'd have to, anything you're getting that you're finding, well, this says that it's long term, it's because it's got preservatives in it. I don't have anything that I can add preservatives, and I don't want that in my food. So, any type of meats like that, unless it's low fat, or you've trimmed the fat off, or cooked the fat off.
Salted, cooked and salted it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I did canned meat. I've canned roast. I've canned pork shoulder.
I'm not as crazy about it.
Butt. It's a texture thing, and I'll tell you what. When I made hamburger, it tastes like dog food to me. I mean, it honestly did. Yep. It was mush. And I'm thinking, I don't know all these people that are going, oh, I love canned meat. It's like, okay, well then maybe you don't have any teeth, and so you don't have to chew. I don't know, but I didn't.
I agree. Sorry. It was ew.
Sorry to those that don't have teeth. It was not personal. Okay.
I love that. Okay, back to the jellies and jams. So you don't have like a really good sugar-free recipe for it at this point? It would be all just.
I can use honey. I haven't, because it takes on that honey taste. So it's kind of like strawberry honey or apple honey, or, I didn't like it. And to me, I'm the one that has to eat it. And so I make it the way I like it. Now, I have gotten away from making jams, and I preserve things in a light syrup now.
Okay.
As far as fruits go, anything like my peaches or my pears or anything like that, blueberries, blackberries, I'll just do a very, very light syrup, just so it has a little bit of sweetness to it, opposed to taking a jam that you have to use like 7 cups,
yeah, like
8
6 cups. You're just like, oh my gosh, that's so much sugar. Yeah.
Yep. So I've gotten away from the jam. I have so much because we don't eat biscuits, we don't eat bread, we don't eat anything.
And so how
like
do you eat the
anymore.
jam then if you're not putting it on a bread product?
Well, we can add it like to our cheesecake.
Yeah, okay.
Or we can add it to like the old goat adds it to sausages and stuff like that. So it just adds a little bit of sweetness to it. But no, honestly, I will be the jam lady if something happens because I have got jars of jam from
well, my peach tree is getting ready to come in. And I still have jam from 2 years ago because last year we had the freeze, right?
Right.
But I still have jam from like 2 years ago, so I want to do something different this year.
And honestly, that's Sarah. That is exactly how I think of things. I go in, I look at what I have, and it's like, you know what? I already have enough strawberry jelly. I already have enough peach jelly. So I'm going to go ahead and just can it so that I can eat the fruit itself. And like I said, all you have to do is a really, really, really light syrup with it. Almost like, when you go to a grocery store and you have a choice of the heavy syrup or the light. Mine is even lighter than that. It's just so it's a little bit of sweetness to it. Again, trying to get away from the sugar.
Well, the ants found my strawberries, and I have a German Shepherd who is 8 months old, and he's the size of a small pony. And,
oh dear.
Yeah, and he needs his own barn at this point. But he's figured out that like the strawberries are pretty darn good. So he goes by the garden, just boop, pops it off. I'm like,
yep.
No, not eating my strawberries. Out of here, buddy. So how about vinegar? Do you make your own vinegar?
I have made my own vinegar out of my muscadine grapes.
Okay.
In fact, I have jars and jars of vinegar, in the pantry. So I'm good with it. And I only make it when I need it. And right now I'm
all
good.
Set.
I've got another grape, I've got grape coming down the pike in just a little while, muscadine and scuppernong and Concord grapes. So I'm going to be good.
Got you. Yeah, that's where I'm going next, is just because I know that like vinegar is such a great preservative.
Yes, it is.
So it's definitely something they have to know how to make yourself if you can buy it from a store. That is needed.
You can use it for cleaning too, can't you?
Yep.
Yes, you can. Yep.
So, how about salt? Post-collapse salt. What are we doing?
Well, what Rick and I did when we first moved up here, we bought as natural as we could salt licks. When you went to the farm store that don't have any minerals in them, we bought in fact, I still have them all wrapped up.
That's a good idea.
This year, those are hard to find.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that, but we have I think we have 4 or 5 of them that we have wrapped up really well and up off the ground. And I figured if nothing else, I could just chip off what I needed, So that was my thought
I did that with chlorine. I buy like the tablets for the pool and stuff, and then leave that stored because the liquid is just going to go bad. But those tablets,
that's pool shock.
Yep, and there's usually like individually wrapped inside of that container. So I mean, it's even better.
Right, right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, as long as people realize that light, air, and oxygen, air, and light. You want to find a dark space.
Temperature.
You want to find heat.
Yeah,
that's
temperature.
What it was. It's like I knew there was another one there. Heat. So you want to keep a dark, cool spot somewhere. If you can keep your food stores and you can keep your things that can deteriorate fast, if you would remember that hard, fast rule, you'll be able to be far better. But some people, they leave it out in their garage in the hot sun, and it's like, and then they wonder when they go to get it or use it or whatever, it's like it's either evaporated, it's totally melted, it's gone bad, it's gone rancid, it's gone on and on and on. It's because of those elements. But if you can find some type of hidey hole or whatever that is cool and dark, that you're going to be better off as far as some of your all your preps. Whether it's physical or whether it's a food source or tools.
Patriot Supply had these great tubs, and they fit right under the bed. So, yeah. So I've just been, what can I put in there?
I mean, why not use it instead of just have the dust bunnies? I mean, it's like, move out, dust. I'm putting these things in here instead. So
yeah, it was a great tool to use, and it stores right there, and you can put whatever in there. You can put jars in there. Speaking of jars, okay, so we had the jar debacle. Was it 2 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah. That you had the jar. I won't bring it up.
You know
on
what?
Air, but
you know what? I probably will be booed off of here, or whatever. But I'm a researcher, and I mean, I don't take what somebody says. I actually research what I'm doing, and there's a product. It's a plastic lid with a band, and I'm trying not to use the name. Anybody that does canning is going to know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's an alternative to the metal lids
and they're reusable.
Metal rings.
Yep.
And they are reusable. Well, myself sat there and said, now, wait a minute. If you could use those bands, I'm wondering if you could use them for the metal lids also. So I went ahead and I water bathed with one of the lids, the metal tin lids, and one of those red reusable bands that you can use like 10 to 12 times each. And it worked. And I have it sitting up on my counter, and I'm just waiting for it to let go or whatever. And I did. And I did, yes, because I don't want to just say, oh, yes, it's going to work. So then what I did was I said, self, I wonder if I can just order a bag of these red rings. So I went online, and they were like $20 for 100. And you can use them each 10 times. So I'm thinking $20, you couldn't even buy a little box of the lids, 12 of them for $20 come last years ago. Everybody was buying them. So then I thought, well, I might as well order the wide mouth ones also. And then I thought, for $20, I might as well order a couple more bags just in case. And so that's what I have as a backup for my backup for my backup. Now, would I use them for pressure canning? Probably not. I'll use my good lids and my good jar rings for those. But for water bathing, where you're not keeping it in too long. But I mean to tell you, that is a tight seal. So that's what I'm doing right now. I've got jars sticking out my ears, but I didn't have the lids.
Gotcha.
And that I was kind of nervous about that. It's like, I don't know what in the world, because some of the stuff that's out there now, it's honestly crap. I mean, you might as well put a piece of foil over it. I mean, it's that that thin. I mean, it's bad.
It's true. That's true. And then the jars themselves, like, it always sucks when you're using your jars and then you have the one in the group that explodes in the water, because they had a microfracture.
You know what? Again, if you realize, and this is what you have to realize, that it's a science. They tell you that there's a reason why you have to have a warm jar with warm food and warm water and warm utensils. It's because you will get that thermal shock. Just like if you pour hot tea in a cold pitcher, it's going to bust on you. So if you realize you have to have a 1/4 inch headspace or a 1/2 inch headspace or an inch or whatever, you can't deviate from that. And when you do deviate from that, you're going to have these issues. Now, I've been lucky that I probably, in all the years I've been doing this, I have only had one jar that's busted. And it was because I was so doggone paranoid about doing all this that I was like, anal doing, okay, I do this next, and then I do this next. And I mean, I was doing it this turtle way, very slow and methodical, but you can't rush this stuff. You really can't. And it's too expensive anymore.
So I deviate from the rules too much is why.
You know what?
I've had more broken really jars than you.
That being the host of the show and all, but yes, you did.
Oh, come on. That's just horrible to hear. I just did a show on discipline.
No, honestly. No. Things happen is the honest answer. You know, you can do the best you can, but nature is what it is, and sometimes things don't seal, and sometimes you have a broken.
Well, that's true. I was thinking like time, because I also use my jars as like drinking glasses and stuff too. So, you know, they get dinged around and stuff. And
I will tell you, people don't realize that, you know, you really shouldn't use metal with the jars. You shouldn't. If you're scooping out for applesauce or whatever and you're going to use that again, you can actually be putting micro scratches in the jars and not see it with the naked eye. And then you go to use that. Okay, I don't need it for drinking right now, so I'll go ahead and use it because I need an extra one for my strawberry jam, not knowing you've got those little micro abrasions in the jar. So it could be something that you didn't do anything wrong at all, and it was just
I lemonade it one time or whatever and stirred it with a spoon. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ah, that makes sense too. Yep. All right, my jars are becoming much more valuable to me right now.
Go buy a glass.
Absolutely.
Glasses aren't big enough. I drink like too much water. I need like massive.
Buy a bigger glass.
Yes, I guess. All right. So what do we do if we can't, like, because my thought's been, okay, when I lived in the small town up in California, the building behind our house was an actual bottle factory. Like they used to make cans and jars right there, the bottles and the jars. And a lot of little communities had their own factories for the cans for jars. And now those are pretty much gone, been replaced by these mega companies. So it's like when supply goes down, what do we do when we can't get jars? Cricket?
Well, much like we do when we're going to have to eat people, I guess we're going to have to take their jars too. You know what? That's a sorry.
I love it.
That's
from Living with Rick.
That's going to be a hard one. You know, oh yeah. It's like, well, we're going to eat her. Nope, we're going to shoot her. Nope,
oh no, I'm much too loud. I'm getting duct tape.
You know? You know, that's a really good question. And it's going to happen.
Yes.
And I never thought there would be an issue with, I always thought I could get canning jars. I knew they might be a couple dollars more expensive because that's just the way things go. I mean, things just continue to escalate and as far as price throughout this last 10 years.
Yeah.
But to not be able to get them, period, I will say it put a little scare in me because I'm thinking, okay, they always say, no, you can't reuse the canning lids. No, you can't do this.
Yeah, I
no,
save
you
mine.
Can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do too. I have never thrown one away unless it was damaged.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's got a bend in it, if it's got a whatever. But I never thought that I would not be able to get them. I just thought they would be really, really expensive. And that is where I started looking for the alternatives. And that's what led me to the reusable ones, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's got to be an answer. And I will tell you, some people did that, and unfortunately they were chewed up and down and spit out online. It was like, you know what, some people are going to hang on to, you can't do this. And yet instead of stepping out of that can't do that and say, okay, if you can't do it, why not?
Why not?
And
Let's
I
try
actually went online and I went to the USDA, blah, 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 all these things, and started reading the reports to see what happened and why you can't and what have you. And they make things so cheap now, and that's honestly most the reason why you can't do that. If it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when they were actually making the lids that were solid, the lids that our grandmothers and their their mothers used to use, they were made a whole lot different. It's almost like driving a 1950 Chevy and a 2020 Chevy. You got plastic versus big heavy metals. It's two different things.
Right, like gunpowder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, well, like everything.
Everything.
And I'm thinking that's the issue. And I'm honestly thinking you're going to have to say, okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to preserve these? Well, you can do like a lot of people did and put them in their cellars.
Thus, the freeze dryer, right? That was your alternative. It was the freeze dryer.
Well, I do have a cellar. I do have a root cellar, and so I can use that. And that's what most of our grandparents used. Mm-hmm. You could take an old freezer and you can put it down in the ground and you can put your fruits and your vegetables and stuff, and you can extend it. So it's not all about, this freeze dryer thing was huge for me. Right. I was saving up for years and years because I was going to get a truck because I figured out, I think I need a small truck. Well, what happened was as I was saving, then all of a sudden this pandemic thing came along and the prices of trucks, and I wasn't going to buy a new one. Nope. I just wanted a used one, but they kept on going up and up and up and up. And finally it's like, okay, this money's not going to be worth anything if the bank goes down. So I need to put my money into an asset. And so that's where that thought process was as far as getting a freeze dryer, purely because it's an investment and it's something I can use right now to help me. If the grid goes down, at least I'll be further ahead as far as my food preservation by doing the dehydrator, by doing the canning, and by doing the freeze dryer, and by doing the smoker, and by doing all of these food preservations that I have to do almost all at once during harvest time.
Yeah. And at least then you have multiple avenues going and you can get it done quicker than without so much waiting on the line. Yeah, that's really smart. That's really smart. Okay, so dairy is obviously you're the goats and you're making the cheese and everything like that. So can we do a quick cheese lesson? Is that quick enough? I think we've done the goats before.
We have done easy. You know what? I call it moving the milk. I move the milk. It's like, what am I going to put the milk into now? Am I going to make cream cheese? Am I going to make mozzarella cheese? Am I going to make a hard cheese where I have to use my cheese press? Am I going to make cheesecake? Mozzarella cheese, I mean, those are things that I have to think about. Also, now I've learned that I can actually freeze dry my milk, so I don't have to stress out. Then I can use that powdered milk for the same things, but I don't have to do it right this minute. Yeah. And that's what I have to weigh out. It's like, okay, I only have so much time in a day. What am I going to do with these foods and how am I going to move them? So, when we were fat and sassy, it was cheesecake all the time. Then it was yogurts all the time. And it was, I don't even know what all I did with cheese. Cream cheeses and just mozzarella cheese for pizzas all the time. And but I'm going to make mozzarella cheese and I'm going to go ahead and freeze dry it. So I'll go ahead and have it. It's already going to be made. I don't have to worry about, preserving it, except for
I want to try some of that freeze dried mozzarella cheese. I want to try that one. That just sounds.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that. So I mean that's moving the cheese. That's what I do with the milk. So
I know that both the greenhouse and the outside gardens are. Wait, before I even go there,
thank you.
Vegetables. So vegetables, a mass quantity. Are those all part of the secret garden as well? Like
they are. Now let me explain to those that don't understand. Which if y'all or some of your listeners are like me that don't have a clue about gardening, which I don't. I'll tell you that right now. But I have learned. Mm-hmm. What Rick has out in the food forest is called a perennial. And what that means is it comes up every year. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do anything. Once it's planted, it's going to come back with gusto every year. But what doesn't come back, unless it's a pioneer, are vegetables. So a cucumber or a watermelon
onions,
or a squash or whatever, all of these. Now, I will tell you, because of the fact that we don't put them in rows, we put them all over the garden. I do have Pioneer tomato plants, and I do have Pioneer cucumbers.
I got basil like everywhere this year because I let it go to seed, and it's just basil everywhere.
I like to do that. I did that this year with my turnips. You know, I went ahead, let them go to seed, and then I just cut them up, cut the seeds. I'm drying them, and then I'll just have an abundance because we don't eat potato, but we do eat roasted turnips, and that's our alternative to potatoes,
which is way better for you. Potato is inflammation, and
So that's what we do. But so a vegetable is an annual. And so usually you do have to plant those during, right after. I don't put anything into the ground until after Mother's Day. I have learned the hard way that you put them in before when all the big box stores have all their nice flowers and whatever out there, and you get that itch that you want to get stuff in the ground, and then a freeze comes and you lose it all. So I go ahead and I seed everything in the greenhouse, and then I just wait until after Mother's Day, and then I start putting them in the ground. So that's the difference between a perennial and what Rick says. You plant once and you harvest for a lifetime. And boy, I'll tell you what, it is a lifetime. Yeah, because it does. He brings it.
So much.
This is that time coming.
Yeah, we already got 2 more fruit trees in, 1 more nut trees going in this year, and then the whole back of the property is going to be the food garden back there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, already got my berries in, and yeah, I was like, okay, Brock, we can't do anything with that section of property, so it's getting turned into food. And I won't let him plant like anything. We're like suburban America. We're still on an acre, but we're more suburbia than I've been in a long time. We're out on 40 acres before, And
but you know what? People think you need more, Sarah, and you don't.
Yep. But I've told them we're not planting anything on this property unless you can eat it. Like, why would we plant anything that you can't eat? If you're going to put in bushes, put in blueberry bushes so that when it comes around, you can harvest them, right?
Yep.
So edible landscaping. I don't know why that concept hasn't caught on to like suburban America.
I know. I don't understand that either. I don't.
And like even in the cities, if you had like fruit trees and stuff, now you're feeding homeless people.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, my sister, she moved to North Carolina in a bigger city, and she moved into a housing development, and I went over to the house and I looked around and I said, oh my gosh, the former owners were preppers. I know they are. And it's like, how do you know? And it's like, they planted peach trees and they have herbs around them, and they have little berries around them, and they have herbs going down the side of the house, and they look like little hedges is what they look like to a person that doesn't know what. And you have these homeowner associations that said you can't have a garden, and people get so caught up with this straight rows that they forget a garden is not necessarily straight rows. You can have decorative little containers with doing a vertical garden if you need it to, if you're in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Great they're beautiful, and you can make them look great. So it's not like there goes the neighborhood. You can actually be feeding your family, not disrupting the community. And
how
so
is
it's
a garden disrupting the community? That again, I'm just
Same. I know.
So there was one community back in California that was pretty cool. It's called like the Vineyard, and the front yards of everybody's front yard was vineyard. And then the neighborhood harvests the gardens and all the grapes, and they had like a wine production building there for the community. And I was like, isn't that the coolest idea? Why don't we have like everybody plants tomatoes and then we have a tomato, canning facility right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
But you know what? Most people, though, Sarah, don't even know their next door neighbors. They don't care to know their next door neighbors. They're too busy. They are more self-absorbed. Yeah.
Everybody drives into the garage and then goes into the house. Nobody sees anybody.
They're going to learn really fast. It's going to be a steep learning curve.
You know it is, and it's sad. I am really working on trying to educate my family a little bit at a time, just kind of bringing to their attention more. Have you noticed how much hamburger is now? Have you noticed how much this? Have you noticed you can't get this now? Have you noticed? Just trying to, because you don't want to nag. Nobody wants to be henpecked, but if you can just kind of slowly just plant those little seeds in their minds that you might not be able to get this next year. And you might not be able to.
And then keep in mind that seeds don't always grow where they're planted.
They don't. That's right.
All.
That's true.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we found that not all, like, we have multiple sources for seeds, and not every source is growing where we're trying to plant. So try, experiment while you can and find what grows. And
and it's like the Mother's Day plant out here in Texas. Oh man, you've got to be like already in the ground way before Mother's Day here in Texas.
That's regional.
I know. Sure. I was like, because I'm from Michigan. I've always lived in the northern, so it's like corn is knee high by 4th of July. You have your garden in by Mother's Day, And coming out here, we planted then, and our garden was just toast from the sun. It was just like, bleh.
Wow,
it's over.
Well, you know what? You need to know that we live in zones.
Yep.
And so you need to look and see what that means. What zone do you live in? What seeds, what plants, what fruit, what nuts grow in your area? You go to these big box stores and you buy these great trees that have been shipped from California all the way over to here, 1,500 miles. They don't grow in this area. The box store does not care if it grows in your backyard or not. They want the $30 and then move on, So people get into that. Oh, I'm going to buy this. No, go to your local nursery. Find out what actually grows in the area and support your community by that way, buying from them, because they're the ones that can actually educate you as far as what will and won't grow.
So if somebody is brand new listening to the show, they're like, okay, I'm going to get started. I'm going to do something this year towards food preservation because I know I need to, because every bit you can do today is going to save you money tomorrow. Where would you suggest they start?
Right now, I highly suggest that you as far as just the food stores, I highly suggest you get what your family could use to get you by. And I can't stress getting seeds. I just can't, and starting them right now. As far as food stores, if you're and I'm not a big rice eater, pasta eater, bean eater, but it could be that's what you and your family are going to end up eating. I have multiple. We have fresh food, we have preserved food, we have dehydrated food.
Yes.
We also have food from grocery stores. I will go and I will buy a flat of some type of vegetable or some type of a whatever, and I will put it away. I like to have a variety of anything and everything in my food stores. So if you can buy just an extra can of something each time, people say, oh, I don't have the money for that. Yeah, but you'll go and buy a large grande mocha chocolatey whatever coffee for $5.99, or you'll go and buy a Happy Burger for $10, or you'll go and buy
a Happy Burger
whatever for this. It's like, you know what? You got to have a preparedness budget. People don't think about that. You do have to. Even if you put $5 a week away by the end of the month, you're going to have a nice, little amount that you can go and spend. And you know what? You might not be able to buy the big name brands. And I don't get into that. I don't fall into the advertising of buying the name brands things.
Look at
I
you.
will buy
Oh my
store.
gosh, you've changed.
No, I have. You know why? I learned one time I took a can of name brand and I took a can of store brand and I sat there and went line by line on the back of the label and I read and it was identical. And then my smart husband said, "Wife, do you understand this comes from the same factory that they just put a different label on it for the store? It's the same product."
Yep.
And so once I learned that, then, I kind of got smart that way. So, I mean, it's learning.
Shop your sales, too. I mean, if you say you're going to spend $5 this week, spend that $5 on what's on sale that week. Don't say I'm going to buy beans and if rice is on sale that week.
And that's where the restaurant supply stores too, like the restaurant supply stores really come in handy there. Yeah, as far as that goes, you can get so much. And that's where I got to. I was like, well, shoot, we did tomato paste one time. It took a whole bushel of tomatoes. It took 11 hours of cooking it down. We got like a flat of pint jars. And we were like, we're just going to go buy like 8 flats of it and keep it stored back because this was way too much work,
Honestly, and that's what people don't want to do. They don't want to do the work.
Yep.
And that's the problem. That it honestly is a problem. We are a lazy nation.
Yes.
We are a consumer nation. We are a self-entitled nation. We are it's just, I don't know where it came from, but we have gotten so lax because everything is instantaneous now.
Yeah, we've never known any different. And the generations now, I mean, you order it on Amazon, it's there tomorrow.
Everything is on there.
They know no different beyond, it's there at your fingertips. And they don't understand that like very fragile planet we live on beyond what the humans are doing on top of it. And the planet could change instantly on people and you'd have no idea. It could just screw up all that little system.
And it has. It has. If you think about it, look at all the disasters that have happened. Now, I want to get back to, I keep on saying save seeds, but I'm also saying save seeds. If you have that tomato plant out there, leave one tomato out there and just let it get big and juicy and ripe. And that will be your designated little tomato seed bank. You will save the seeds from that. Anything that you want to save seeds, you have to let it mature.
How do you save tomato seeds? Because we've done a show on it before, and it was very complicated about like you got to put it in the water and let it fall to the bottom. And then I tried it, and it turned into a moldy mess. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing that.
No, you don't have to do anything but scrape them out. Scrape them out, wash the stuff off of it, the gook. I don't know what they call it. The tomato gook. The tomato gook. And once you clean that off, put it on a paper towel and let it dry.
That's what I thought.
Let it totally dry.
That's what I thought.
Fold it up, put it in an envelope, put seeds harvest 2022.
Yep.
Tomato. Fat boys, stripies, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even get into that. I am not.
It's just tomato, whatever.
Snob. It is
right?
a tomato. It's a tomato I like, and I don't know what.
I think I tried it with cucumbers. They were like, "Oh, you got to put the seeds in a jar of water, and then this stuff will float. That stuff will go down."
Let me ask you something, Sarah. Does nature do that?
No, not really.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
so you have to watch what nature does. Nature will just get as ripe as it can, and then it starts to deteriorate.
And dry
It starts to dry on the vine.
Yep.
And sometimes I will literally let some of my peas, some of my mustard, some of my other things, I will let it just totally go to seed or go ahead and dry up on the vines, and then I'll take them, and then I just crack it open again, put it in an envelope, and label it for what it is. So it's a win-win situation. It really is. Now, Rick and I have been blessed to have been doing this for a long, long time. And so it is kind of
second nature now.
It is second nature now.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a Garden of Eden. I mean, it is like, it's hard to describe how abundant it is, but it's amazing. And we don't have to do anything. We don't have to go out and prune. We don't have to go out and cut. We don't have to do anything. We're just letting nature do what it does every year. And then we're reaping those benefits. You grow a garden, you got to go out there. People are pulling leaves and they're mulching and they're tilling and they're doing all these other. Yeah. Nature doesn't do that.
Nope. It's so true. It's so true. Well, the nature absolutely pruned the peach tree for us last year, though, with the cold snap. Yeah, it definitely got pruned. It took off, and it was good. The tree needed it. Now it's even more bountiful this year, so, God knows exactly what he's doing.
Absolutely. Sometime nature needs to do these things to get it back on course. Yep.
Alrighty. Well, that's our hours up. I actually just went ahead. Usually I do like the Changing Earth news too, but I maybe it will stick around afterwards. But I was having too much fun talking with you, of course. So I was like, whatever. We're just going straight through with Jane. This is awesome. We'll definitely be seeing you this year because I was like, I don't care how high gas prices get, we will be there this year.
I think everybody needs to be here this year. I just highly suggest that, and please, we try to work on a graduating, scale as far as the ticket prices and, so try to make it as easy as we can for everybody. So if you could go to the website and grab those tickets up so that you can kind of plan ahead. September, and I don't remember exactly, I think it's September 26th through 28th. It's something
last
like
week,
that. But the
right?
website.
It's like
last week of September.
Last week of September.
Yep. So
preppercamp.com, guys.
.com.
I just posted it. It's September 23rd, 24th, and 25th of 2022.
Gotta get there. Hopefully,
absolutely.
my buddies from Idaho are coming in too. That'd be great.
I just posted the link in the live show chat, so everybody go click the link.
Preppercamp.com.
You won't regret it.
Alrighty, Jane. Well, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to stick around. We'll do some Changing Earth news for all the live listeners real quick, and then we'll get that taken care of. But as always, great to talk to you. I was just like, I get to pick Jane's brain. Okay, let's do it.
Like I said, it's small, so it didn't take long.
No.
Hey, listen, thank you so much for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. And anytime you want to pick my brain, just ask. Or if your chat room has any questions for later on that you want to get back with me, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jane.
July 3rd. Wait. July 3rd. We're doing the binge show for the audio drama. So for you guys who don't know, Jane's in the audio drama, plays Dolores. And Jane, you are more than welcome to come on to the live show. I'll give you details if you're interested a little bit later. But yeah, we just all get together and talk about the show and prepping stuff and, typical have fun and talk survivalism. So that'd be great if you want to come out.
It would be great.
July 3rd. It's a Sunday.
Okay.
And then have you gotten any further in the series? I know you're so busy, so you probably have no time.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I should get you hooked up with the audiobooks. That'd probably be
probably
be easier
Not
for
even
you.
that. I have to talk to myself, so I don't have enough room in my brain for anything else.
Well, that's good. That's good. I was just curious if you learned where your character is going or not. So that's
no. I just know that I'm a head of a brothel. It's like what does that say? It's like
typecasting.
and the medicine lady. I mean, she does good.
Thanks.
Right on. Alrighty, Jane. Well, thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Awesome having Jane with us. I love it. Yeah.
Fun lady.
Man, I was so excited to have her. That's why I was like, we should have done Changing Earth News a while ago, but you know what? Forget it. I got an extra 15 minutes. We can hang around. And I just highlighted like the really big stuff, but there was big enough stuff that I think it's worth going through. So If you don't mind, Chin, if you don't have to get back out and be the manual labor in the garden.
It's raining outside. I don't think I can go outside.
Oh, you're good to go then. All right, let's go
ahead
and get into it.
I don't lose my connection. We're fine.
All right. Hold on one second. All right, short intro. We're going to jump right into the Changing Earth news. So the sun is active. It's been really active, but it's not flaring large today, so that's good. There's a sunspot that's facing us, but we just have eyes on. It could, you never know what's going to happen. That could be today's cool, tomorrow sucks kind of thing. So we just keep our eyes on that. No coronal holes present at this time. Okay, so some big things. On the 12th of May, the Red River in Minnesota, North Dakota, and Manitoba area, they're experiencing the worst flooding that they've had in a decade. And it's from the rain, just massive melting ice. And this is exactly like 1 year after they just had this massive drought, so quite a change for them. 39 feet high is flood level. It's at 52. It crested at 52 feet. Yeah. So, and it's flat ground, so it just expands out and it cut off roads. It was pretty severe. So that was definitely one that's worth mentioning. These sandstorms are becoming more and more severe and frequent and crazy in the Middle East. And even in Belarus, they had a huge dust storm. 2 people died in that storm. On the 22nd in the United States, there was also massive thunderstorms that whipped across, they call it a directure. 100-mile-an-hour winds came across Minnesota, South Dakota. 1 person died in each of those states due to it. There was tornadoes in South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa. So that was a pretty massive storm that came in. So hopefully everybody is safe up there, and I'm getting over that. In Peru, there was a 5.4 earthquake on the 12th. So because of some of the sun activity, we did have earthquake warnings and stuff up, and it did uptick activity. And that was pretty interesting. There was 385 2.0 earthquakes on the 12th. And then on the 13th, there was 392, and the biggest was a 5.3 in Chin's favorite.
South Sandwich.
South Sandwich, baby. Yeah, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, Jen will love that. In China, they had 50,000 people affected by flooding. The rain began on May 8th. It just came down in heavy, heavy amounts. And so this is southeastern China, and they had 9,300 acres plus affected, totally destroyed by flooding. 9.8 inches they got. The 13th, they also saw explosive activity out of Stromboli in Italy. And then in northern Italy, they had this cold and hail that came in. It took out a lot of their agriculture in that region, including like grapevines and things like that. So, and those take years to get back online after an abnormal event like that. So not good news. I try to highlight like the things that are affecting the agriculture, because obviously that's, what I've been worried about for a couple of years, even before we went into all this. You got to wonder how much of this is actually just a cover up for what was coming down the pipeline anyway. In northern India, there was massive flooding that started there. And then Volcan del Fuego also showed explosive activity on that day. So both Stromboli and Volcan del Fuego had been kind of idle for a little bit. And then they both started exploding on the 13th. On the 14th, there was 429 earthquakes that were 2.0 or higher. The biggest was a 5.1 in Indonesia. That area is usually rocking and rolling. Flooding in southern Ghana. And then in southeastern Russia, 48,000 acres plus are now on fire. And 58,000 have burned so far. 2,000 people there are homeless. So these wildfires are just still going crazy in eastern Russia.
I wonder if they're having the resources to fight the fires where they're out doing other things.
Right. And like how much world support's coming in. Because, when Australia went, we sent down our planes and all that stuff. And right now with the wars, it's not a good situation.
Yep.
On the 15th, there was 409 earthquakes that were 2.0 or higher, the biggest of which was a 5.5 in Guam. Syria and Iraq on the border there, a powerful sandstorm came in. There was dozens injured. A couple people died. 100 plus people were admitted for hospital care due to suffocation systems because these dust storms have been so oppressive. The pictures are insane, dude. Like the whole sky just turns red and then like the highways, it's when the aftermath is done, it's like snowstorms, right? When you see snow,
like a blizzard.
But it's all sand and like, man, somebody's got to come and clear all that and everything.
Yeah, because that's not just going to melt off.
Right? Exactly. Like you can't just plow that away. Somebody's going to have to come in with the bulldozer and plow it away. But, it's not going to melt, like you say.
Yeah.
And then in northeastern India, there was 6 people died in landslides up there. The rain's just been bad. The flooding's been horrible up there. So they've been experiencing landslides now that the ground is so soaked with moisture. There's been record high temperatures on the Pakistan-India border in March and April. Usually their high temperatures come in May and June, but March and April have been absolutely just on fire as far as the temperature goes, and there's no water left. So they're in the middle of this huge water crisis, people waiting for hours in line just to get fresh drinking water, which also caused a cholera outbreak in Pakistan because of the water crisis. Literally, birds are dropping out of the air, dying from dehydration because they're flying around trying to find water and they can't, and so they're just dropping out of the air and dying, and it's pretty severe over there right now. So they could definitely use some prayers. Eastern Russia got hit with unseasonably cold weather, so we go from one extreme to the other. Just the change in Earth, She's just going to keep throwing everything at us. On the 16th, there was 366 earthquakes that were 2.0 or higher, the biggest of which was a 5.8 in the Indian Ocean. We saw flooding in Malaysia. 300 homes affected there, massive landslides, and then also northern Venezuela. Kuwait finally got hit with the sandstorm that came across from Syria and Iraq, and all of their port traffic and their airport traffic had to be suspended because of the sandstorm that came in. In the USA, on the 16th, Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. got hit with thunderstorms and hail. Some are baseball size that came in, so hopefully everybody listening was okay after that event. It can be very regional when the hail comes in and does, but there was some serious damage. When it just hits, tatters cars and stuff. One of this house that they showed, like the whole front of it just looked like it had been shot with, bullets or something, because it was just boom, a hail all across everything. On the 17th, there was 349 earthquakes, 2.0 or higher, the biggest of which was a 5.6 in the South China Sea. There was flooding in southeastern Uruguay. This subtropical storm system came in. It killed one person. The sea foam literally just inundated everywhere, as well as the flooding. And these are super rare. So they saw one about 15 years ago, but it never made landfall. So for it to make landfall is really, really rare, and a lot of flooding and damage from it. Then it continued on and it hit Brazil, bringing 80-mile-an-hour winds to southern Brazil. There was a 51-year-old that drowned. Their boat was actually capsized and whatnot. And then the storm brought in these severely low temperatures. So as soon as the storm moved out, they started getting snow, which is crazy for them right now. In Kazakhstan, there was a massive landslide in this residential region. So they've been getting a lot of rain as well. And this huge mountain just let loose into this residential, basically, the subdivision. 5 homes were just destroyed by this, and 1 person died in that event. And then Thailand and Bangkok, they also saw massive monsoons. They're the worst that they've been in a decade. Literally 5 foot high of water. So that's just insane. In Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan saw their first tornado of the season. Everything was all good, though. Just beautiful, pictures and whatnot. Always breathtaking to see. And then on the 18th, there was 360 earthquakes that were 2.0 or higher, the biggest of which was a 5.8 in Alaska. And then the sandstorm hit the United Arab Immigrants, and the tallest building in the world in Dubai. It was just, you just couldn't even see it anymore from the sandstorm coming in. And they are reporting that they're coming more frequently and more intensely, these sandstorms. So, of course, they blame it on, deforestation and diversion of rivers and things like that. You're not keeping the ground as moist, so it's going to kick up more sand into the air. There was flooding in southern India, and then there was a huge thunderstorm and hail event in southern Greece that destroyed a lot of cropland. On the 19th, there was 373 earthquakes that were 2.0 or higher, the biggest of which was a 6.9 in the southern Pacific near Australia. The Saharan dust has now kicked off of Africa. It's coming across, and it hit the Caribbean and South America on the 19th. It should be up to the U.S. Gulf this weekend. Usually these events start ramping up in June and subside in August. So you guys saw it last year. It came in on you guys, right? Wasn't that last year? Mm-hmm. And then Western Texas is on fire. The Mesquite Heat Fire in Taylor County has burned 10,000 acres. It's only 5% contained as of the 19th, and there's already been 27 homes destroyed in that event. And Western Texas is a lot of cotton. They grow a lot of cotton over there. So, again, we're talking agricultural regions that really, we don't need to see them on fire this year especially. There was flooding in Honduras. The southern capital had mudslides and floods, 100 plus homes destroyed, and this gigantic sinkhole opened up in the middle of a residential area, threatening to, suck the homes into it, which is always a good time. Northern Nicaragua, one person died in the flooding there. And then on the 20th, there was 466 earthquakes that were 2.0 or higher, the biggest of which was a 5.8 in Chile. There was a solar flare on that day, an M class. It released significant radio noise, so it can actually disrupt sensitive equipment like the GPS, the satellite technology, that kind of thing. So that was an eyes-on event, not affecting the planetary, our planet very much. In New Zealand, there was a super rare tornado. 86 mile an hour winds, 25 homes were hit in that event. They do not see tornadoes there, which is really weird. And then there was also a tornado in Gaylord, Michigan, which really doesn't get tornadoes that often as well. And it's weird that they happened on the same day. There was major property damage in that event. And a tornado also hit northwestern Germany on that day. 2 people died in that event, and they saw a lot of property damage. So many roofs ripped off of homes and things like that through the communities and whatnot. And then Vanuatu saw massive flooding. It's a little island out there by the volcano that's out there. Some homes were just completely washed away. So the weird, massive flooding events and the wind. I think we're going to see the uptick of winds on our planet. If you haven't watched the disaster playlist on Suspicious Observers, you guys really need to check that out. But the way we're headed right now, keep in mind, Sarah said we're going to see an uptick of winds. The planetary winds are going to keep speeding up to where we see more of these subtropical storms, cyclones, hurricanes, and the, tornadoes and just massive wind events happening across the globe. In the last 24 hours, the biggest earthquake was a 6.3 in the South Pacific Ocean. The last week, and it also tops the month, was a 6.9 on Macquarie Island. And then the biggest of the year is still the 8.2 in Alaska. For volcanoes, 25 volcanoes are actively erupting right now. That's the same as last week. 16 are showing minor activity. That's down 2. But they just fell into the unrest category, which is up 2 to 40. All right. That didn't take too long. Bam. Everybody's caught up now. Like I had to share. I just
posted the disaster playlist for you, sir.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Yeah, you guys got to check that out. Big time, big time, big time. And if you guys are listening to the show and you're like, where's the live chat at? Go over to prepperbroadcasting.com. That's where you're going to get hooked up to how to get to the live chat so you can join the show live. And we'd love to have you over there for sure.
You're missing half the experience if you're not in the chat.
Right, exactly, because you can't see what's going on. And Chin's awesome because he's always posting awesome links and fact checking me and keeping me square like he always does. So I realize I have a lot of
tired by the end of the show.
Yeah, I realize I have a lot of handlers in my life. I'm like, come on, man, I'm not that crazy. Like, jeez. So I'm just go. Everyone's whoa.
Like the Macy's parade.
Yeah, like rain over there. We're gonna set up the cow pushers. So July 3rd, we're doing the binge event. You guys need to get on the live chat before then. Come over, check out PBN. It's a great place to be. And we're doing a lot of giveaways on July 3rd. So, and I'm definitely giving away a whole book set, which is ching. I know. So much love to everybody, though. And
just in time for summer reading.
Exactly. It's going to keep you busy. So good thing that Jane, it's still a mystery for her because, yeah. For everybody who does know my series, yeah, everybody who does know my series knows exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, go get caught up. Alrighty. Yeah, and you can get caught up at my website, become a member. You can go back and do the archives. I've podcasted every single one of my books besides Swenson and my very last book. So you can pretty much get caught up and you learn a ton of information along the way.
Yep.
It was funny listening to James the other night because he was like, oh, the first shows sound like, and I'm like, oh, it's so true. Like when you go back, I mean, that was like 6-7 years ago when I did my first show.
My treadmill days when I used to listen to you guys.
Your treadmill days.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Alrighty, guys. Well, that's all. We've gone way over this show, so I'm gonna have to do some editing, but that is okay because we had a bunch of fun. So.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Great show.
Good call, Chin. Thanks for wrangling up Jane, making her take a break from her food preservation. Teach us all how it's done. Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time, remember, dream,